Thank you for coming to watch Dr. Smith's video today. We encourage you to hit the subscribe button and the alert button. That way you can get notifications when he uploads a new video. Thank you for coming today.
So we hope you take the time to hear and think about, and if you have a book, read in the book about the concept and the topics that we talk about. They have a lasting effect. The intent is not necessarily to treat pain, but to make permanent, long-term correction with your whole family and your friends.
Thank you. Make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Before we start, yes.
What are you looking for when you lift up the lips and look up there?
Whether the vein is connected.
When you raise your lip, it's called we look at the frenula. The frenula is a narrow flap of skin that's about a ½ inch long. When I look at that, I look for smoothness. It should be nice and smooth on both sides. It should be light pink. Should not have nodules. When there are nodules, the color of the nodules indicate what's going on. If it's red, it's hot, something's actively going on in the body. And if it's pale, it's usually chronic, it's been there a long time. And when I look from top to bottom, and that's kind of a general overview of the intestinal tract. Stomach all the way through.
What about under the tongue? When you lift your tongue up.
Let me finish that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So, in my opinion, when I look in the mouth, it's a God-given method of assessment. I would not do a diagnosis based on that, but I assess. Usually I look for things that are chronic or long-standing. That means it's going to take a long time for them to fix. If they're red and hot and swollen, that means we need to get on something right now and hit it pretty hard. And it's pretty accurate. I depend on it a lot, and it only takes about 2 seconds to hold it up and look. When we look under the tongue, you raise the tongue up, we look underneath. For me, again, that's a real quick assessment of the cleanliness of the liver. I call those liver lines. Liver lines. When you put the tongue up and we look underneath, there should be absent of the purple lines. If we see the purple lines, that indicates, in my opinion, what I've seen in the past, liver toxicity. And I grade them in my mind.
Grade?
Grade, like a 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1 would be, I can see a thin line. It's not protruding, but I can see it. That's a minor issue. The greater the color, and the more purple, and the wider the line indicates more serious problem. Sometimes it will branch. Instead of one vein, it will have multiple veins sticking out. We look on both sides. And the greater the protuberance, the greater it sticks out, the more it sticks out, the more intense it is. And the greater the lines, the more intense it is. I teach that in one of my classes when we have a class on the tongue analysis. I think it's a very good self-assessment. You can look in your mirror and look into your tongue just as well as I can. You can look up here and see if with the mirror you can see what's going on. So you can monitor your progress. Now, some people will clear up very fast. They will detoxify the liver. We're going to talk about that today a little bit. They can detoxify the liver quickly, so they can see rapid change. Now, rapid means a couple months. Some people have to work and work and work and work, and sometimes it takes even more than 1 year to clean the liver. Sometimes it will look like it's cleaning up and getting better, and then it'll get worse. And if you're working with Deborah with the live blood, you will notice the same kind of thing. Sometimes you're cleansing, and then you kind of plateau, and then you cleanse some more, and the liver will show that.
How does the liver cleanse itself? What's the avenue that it?
That's a great question, and the answer is kind of right along the lines with our discussion today. The liver has a lymph system. The liver has capillaries and venules which drain. All cells are wherever they are, lungs, kidneys, liver, doesn't matter, are continually doing processes inside the cell, and then they excrete the toxins outside the cell, and they carry it away by the veins and by the lymphatic system. They go to the lungs and to the kidneys to help clean them out.
Okay.
And it's always going. Now, one of the things I've told you in the past, I'll tell you again today. I'll probably tell you again and again and again. Most of what happens in the body is automatic. You don't know what's happening. It happens whether you're aware of it or not. The body detoxifies more at night than in the day, because in the daytime you're doing stuff, and the primary agenda, the primary energy expenditures, if you will, are on stuff you're doing, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, chemical, even digesting food. The process of digesting food costs you real energy. I'd like you, for just a moment, where we're on this topic, to think of the brain and the body as a very strict accountant, distributing energy. You have a certain amount of energy available that you get from your food. You get energy from the sun. You get energy when you breathe. You get energy from your friends. If your husband holds your hand, you get energy from him. Maybe you give it to him. Depends on who has the most. But then the body is stuck with, let's say, 1,000 units of energy, and that's what it has to deal with. All of the functions that are going on in the body for the next day. All organ tissue and systems have different levels of priority. like your eyes are high priority, your brain is high priority, your heart is high priority. A lady early this morning that I checked that had very bad ankles. And I told her, I told her this, your joints in your ankles, the muscles in your legs are down the list on priority. And one of the concerns when people have extremity issues is they seem to take a long time to heal. Well, I just gave you the reason why. They maybe spent their energy and there's not much left to heal the lower level, less important tissue. Even when people say, I'm losing my hair, I say, well, that's an accessory. You really don't need hair in your head. It's kind of an accessory. It's nice to have. It's nice if it's curly. But if you're low in energy, the body's not going to make hair if it needs to fix the heart or the stomach. Does that make sense? So lots of times tissue that seems to be slow in recovery, like last week we talked about chronic issues. Many chronic issues are there because of lack of energy. And always, lack of sleep is related to that. Lack of rest, sleep/rest. In a society, people have symptoms and they take pills to hide the symptoms and do not allow the body to use energy to heal the lower level tissue. A lot of people have even higher level functions that never heal because they do the opposite. I have people come to see me that go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. They spend lots and lots of energy doing muscles. They would be buff and fit and tough, and so their gut doesn't heal because they spend it. It's like giving a kid, $20 and they go to the mall and it's gone. They wasted it on muscles and they didn't have enough left. So they skewed the expenditure. Did that make sense? Okay. Good question. Long answer. Any other questions? Okay, today our primary discussion is on holistic detoxification. I'm going to start at the top of the triangle on page 27. I'm not going to refer to that anymore other than today's discussion is divided into 3 main categories. The mental, emotional, spiritual is at the top. I think that's number 1. Then we'll go down to the corners. And mental is first. Mental is where you make your choices. The brain pretty much is in control. The hormone system is right next to it. We talked about the male and female part of you. The brain is a male. The brain dominates what goes on in the body. So if you want to be clean, it requires a decision to be clean, to detoxify. And when I say detoxify, I'm talking about from above down and from the inside out. I have a couple of people who have liver lines that come and go. And they're always talking to me about their husband and how the husband doesn't do with his stuff what the wife thinks should be done this up. Like the garage is a mess, the yard is a mess. It needs to be detoxified. So we have an overlapping contamination from her yard and environment into her mind. So part of the reason her liver lines come and go is because she hasn't yet made the decision to clean everything. Some of you are familiar with the process of, you probably had assignments where you've cleaned the temple and you can't find anything to clean, right? It's never dirty. It's like, oh, sweet, I found a little speck of something. And that's kind of the extreme, but that's a good model. And so that moves down the triangle from the mind, making that decision to clean your whole environment. Would you do me a favor and pass it on? No, just one for you.
Just on my issue. Cause sick,
Denise, would you copy from her? I think we're a couple short. We'll pass to that now. Oh, you need a copy. So it starts in mind, and
Oh, I thought you needed one, sorry.
then I'll go in a minute. Then your feelings follow your thinking. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your feelings because they trail, they follow along, they come later. Marketers try to skip the brain part and go right to the feeling. So when you watch commercials, and even when you go shopping, they position things and try to arrange things so that you feel things first. Does everyone have one?
Need one more. We're sharing here.
The spirit is kind of caught between the mind and the feelings. The spirit is the true you. It's the inner part of you that has life within. As you know, you started as a spirit, actually in intelligence, then you got a spirit, and then you got a body that has a mind and feelings. But that's at the peak. So that requires number 3 on the test. Repenting is a favorable step to clean the slate and create a vacuum for an improved pattern. Repenting. We're going to go back up and talk about 1 and 2 in a minute. Thank you, Jim. Got it. Now, I know this is not church, but I want to talk to you about repenting because it's a key factor. There are 2 main areas. Sins of omission and sins of commission. And you know what the difference are. Well, it means you should have done something and you didn't. I just finished seeing a lady who we did a clearing on. When we do a clearing, we erase the mental, emotional, what's called loop between what you think and what you feel. So some of you have issues that you need to repent of. They also have a mental, emotional tie with each other that subtract energy from your body. Kind of like if you pulled your car in the garage and you left the door open overnight. And the little dome light stays on. And you go up the next morning to start your car and it won't start. Because that little tiny drain energy. Now, so what I'm telling you is sins of commission and omission, past, present, and future, have a negative effect on your physical energy availability. Just like lack of sleep. That's more important to you than you think it is.
Doctor, would you say that one more time, please?
Yes,
Sins,
I'll say it in-
past, present, and future have.
You can have issues that you did, something you did or didn't do when you were young. That's past. Present, you're doing it now, or you're not doing something you should do. Okay, currently. And you know as well as I do that most people have some, I'll call them sins, that they are their favorite. They like them. They're gonna keep doing them. And sometimes you think it's not significant. I'll give you a real example. It could be a pair of shoes. You know hurt you, but you spend you spend a lot of money on them. They're pretty, they look nice, but dang, you can hardly wait to get them off. And you're too stubborn to get rid of them. That's a favorite sin. As an example. It could be something simple like potato chips. A lady who says, if I open a bag of potato chips, I ate the whole thing, the whole bag.
My mother called them temptations.
Temptations. So
Better just not buying.
my solution is buy a smaller bag to start with, and then
Or don't buy
or
them.
don't buy them. Okay, now let's go back to this questionnaire. Step number one, the first step in first step in cleansing is to be able to focus on one thing of your choosing. That's a true statement. Be able to focus on one thing. Benjamin Franklin said this, quote, I owe my success in life to being 100% present wherever I am. Now that's very valuable if you can do that. It correlates with number two. By having present time consciousness, my feelings will follow, allowing me to become more neutral. Neutral is the goal. Neutral is where you have power. Think of your car. You get in your car, it's in park or neutral. You can go either way. You can go forward or back. You have the choice.
Can you say that again at the first? What's this step? Just say it again how you said it. It's not present. Just a few words.
Oh, you're our example, like I was a minute ago.
Yeah, rewind.
You want
Good
to-
news, it'll be on YouTube and you can rewatch it. Word for word.
Being able to be present, have present time consciousness. See, the conscious mind is like a ping pong ball. You can only be in one place at a time. It's on this side of the net or this side, or off somewhere. The subconscious mind gets everything from conception. The subconscious mind is the most important. The subconscious mind, in my opinion, correlates, is tightly adhered to your spirit. And when you dream, your brain is kind of sorting and figuring things out and recalling things like they should be. I know when you dream, you probably think they're totally chaotic. I have a question. How long do you think a dream lasts? A little bit of time or a long time?
A little bit.
Pardon?
Very short.
Extremely short. And the next time we read it in the book and it says that God showed the brother Jared from creation to the end, you scratch it and say, how long did that take? Well, not very long. How can it be? We don't know. It had happened. Clear. So a dream is very quick, even though it seems like a long time. And if you can't dream, you need to. You need to take something to help you get into a deeper sleep. I don't think I answered your question. I don't think I repeated what I said.
I have a question about neutral.
Neutral.
You explain that again.
Okay, neutral is the greatest position of power.
So how do you get there?
Is that why when you're meditating, President McKay said, when you're in the nothing, you have, I just lost it. But that nothing would be neutral, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure what context he said that. I know he did say that the consciousness, he said, this is a quote, the consciousness of victory over self. That's and of the communion with the infinite. The ability to communicate with God is one of life's most sublime experiences. And to feel oneself expand in the soul, that's one of the primary goals. When you expand the soul, you get more and more neutral. Now, when I think of neutral, I think of God. I think God is neutral. And in his position, he has both his full power, his complete power of justice, a complete power of mercy. So if you repent, you get the same thing he has. If you don't, we're back to the time of Noah. He said, thou shalt not kill. But because the kids had no choice in that environment, right? At the time of Noah, they were wicked. So you have a baby, and the baby would be in total wicked environment. So they couldn't choose between right and wrong because it was all wrong. So what did they do? Kill them all. Now to me that's very flexible. Both ways. Where's the power? Neutral. If you're stuck on justice, that's what you see on TV when they have a riot and they hold up the signs, a rally. You look at their face, they want justice. That's what they want because they lack mercy. Then you watch the Brethren, and it's all about mercy, right? Mercy. They want more people to get along and be neutral. Neutral. That's the goal. And when we talk about next week, I'm going to talk about the T-zone, help you use your T-zone more effectively to get more value out of it. Neutral. I talk about neutral posture. We want neutral chemistry. We want neutral mental, emotional. That's 1, 2, 3. Number 4 is always best to establish what range of goals. What's best, short, medium, or long? All of them.
All three.
So give an example, one of a short goal. What's
Drink
a
enough water for today.
for today? Today is the day.
Today's the day. Get water.
And that's a good goal. What's a long-term goal?
Exaltation.
Exaltation. That's way out there.
Yeah, lose 20 pounds.
Okay?
30 pounds. Go ahead.
That's a long-term goal.
Yeah.
How long should it take to lose 20 pounds?
The kids.
Pardon?
Short.
Never more than a pound a week.
Okay.
5 pounds a month is pushing it.
Really?
Yes. Because if you lose it too fast, you're getting it back plus. And that's a fact. Yesterday in class, one of the fellows said, long as 5 years. He's a great grandpa. He sits down with his kids and the grandkids and says, okay, I'd like you to write down for me your 5-year goal. Well, Grandpa, I'm only 15. Well, that's good. That's perfect. And what do you, that might include school and mission and marriage and occupation. You got a lot of things. Somebody else said, having a good attitude today, just today. If I make it through today, it'd be nice. So there's not a right or wrong, but here's the thing. The most important word on that question is written. Circle that. If it's not written, it's not a goal, it's a wish. It's an idea. Goal is
That's
needed.
W. Kimball.
Yes, that's a quote. Needs to be written. Yale University did a study years ago they followed graduates for 50 years. The only people who reached their goals were those that had them written down. And that included 4%. Written. Now we change positions on the triangle. Number 5, maintaining good lung capacity is critical to body cleansing. True. And I will put the words deep, wide, and elevated, both in and out. I can tell you a true experience I had last week in one of my classes. One of the ladies was talking about quite a bit of time on expanding her chest capacity, her lung capacity. And we talked about stairs and treadmill and breathing deep. And to make a long story short, afterwards I checked her to see. She's an athlete, 42 years old, and chest expansion was 1 inch. Normal, healthy chest expansion between in and out should be 2.5 inches plus. So if I did a physical exam on you and I measured that, like I did her and I got 1, that's a problem. Why? Here's why. Because the lungs automatically, if they're functioning properly, excrete about 75% of the toxins from the blood. All the venous blood comes back to the heart, goes into the lungs, and it should go out when you exhale. One of the major problems with COVID patients is they lost a lot of lung capacity. I say on the edges of the lungs. If you have a T-zone, you have a perfect tool, instrument to help you get it back. So what I did with that lady last week, I had her stand in the T-zone. I'll show you what I had her do. You can do it if you want at home. I had her take a deep breath, deep, and then front to back, and turn, hold in the breath as far as you can turn, and then breathe out in steps. And
Oh, so you go as far as you can, and then as you breathe out, you go further?
she did, and you will. Each time you get more out. See, now we're getting the lungs smaller. Now in that posture, you take a deep breath, and you turn to the other side, and again repeat till you get out, and then again you go back and forth 3 times. I then had to, I said, oh, just out of curiosity, let's see if that made a difference. So we re-measured, she re-breathed, and she gained more than a ½ inch difference, and she gained almost a full inch in neutral. So she went from like 36 chest to 37, and then she breathed more than 1.5 inches, just doing that one thing. So that enhanced her lung capacity, which increased her body's ability to detoxify.
Would you explain or describe the other breathing, the wide and the...
Yes.
Thank you.
When you do the sacral slide and your feet are straight up and you belly breathe, that's below the diaphragm. You push the belly down because you're pushing the diaphragm down, you're pushing the belly up. That's belly breathe.
You belly breathe when your feet are up.
When you're straight up, if you belly breathe, you get more change in your lower back, and it helps you get better breathing, belly breathing. Then when you turn your feet out, you breathe wide. So think of your ribs. Think of a Christmas tree. The ribs come out this way. And you might want to have somebody put their hands on your ribs, and just so you can feel you can breathe wide when you feed out.
Deborah said, when she was explaining that to me, she said, breathing wide is a large part of it is mental.
It's all mental.
You envision yourself breathing wide.
Yes. When we used to take x-rays of the spine, the ribs kind of hang down. Some people would be stuck with the ribs up here. So the ribs are stuck, they're fixed out, so they can't breathe up and down and narrow and wide. The branches should go up and up, the ribs should go up and down when you breathe wide. And deep is front to back. That's when your toes are in, you get more change up here. That's the 3 positions. Now you actually have another one. They actually breathe up. That's when you raise your shoulders up.
When you breathe out or breathe in?
When you breathe in, you raise your shoulders. I'll tell you another true story. I had a big Spanish fellow who was saying, as a career, he had a 56-inch chest. He came to see me because he lost his voice, and he wanted to see if I could help him get his voice back. When I measured his chest expansion, I got a ½ inch. Okay? Because he had been breathing like this, I lost his voice because this whole area got tight. He lived a long ways away from me, so I said to him, I want you to do this one exercise. I want you to lay on the floor, get a 40-pound barbell weight, lay it on your belly, and just belly breathe. That's all I want you to do, okay? Within 1 week, his voice came clear back. His chest expanded much better because he was now moving things around. Another fellow from San Francisco, he was an opera singer. He married one of my friends, and he came in to get checked. Little skinny guy. He was about 5'2", and about as big around as you. I
It
said,
could be an office.
I wouldn't measure his chest. I got over 4 inches.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's what I said. Whoa! You hold the record, dude. I'm the big guy, got a half inch.
Yeah.
Should have been the other way around.
Excuse me.
Well, that's because as an opera singer, he belly breathes.
That kept his whole body loose.
Yeah.
His posture was neutral.
My daughter told me that she had a massage last week, and the massage therapist talked to her about the 4 diaphragms and the different places of breathing. And she had not been breathing. I mean, she'd been holding her breath
Yeah.
basically. And I think a lot of people don't breathe everything.
You're right. You were exactly right. Most people, when they check that, have about an inch and a half, because the ribs are stuck.
So,
How do you get them unstuck?
Well, it just showed you.
Okay.
Okay.
Find out.
so the belly one's down here?
What?
Where, okay, I'm
Yes.
confused about that.
Breathe into
now.
your belly
I thought
button.
Breathing's clear down here.
Make your belly fat.
What happened? Put your hands on your belly. All of you. Just put your hands on your belly. Now, take a breath in and push your belly out. So your diaphragm, when you breathe in, your diaphragm went down. You put air in the chest. The diaphragm went down to push your belly out.
Okay, what's the internet front to back one?
That's deep here. If I
Don't
put my
stick your
hand
tummy out. Just
If I put my hand on your sternum and put my hand behind you and said breathe deep, I'd expect you to get thicker.
Okay.
If you're laying on the floor, you breathe in, you're doing sacral slide, you breathe deep, they should go up and down.
I'll make another comment. I told my daughter after she told me that, I said, well, make sure you do the sacral slide, because if you do that, you'll be doing at least 3 of the breathing and different ways of breathing. But also, I know that for her, a lot of it was mental and emotional,
Yeah.
that she was holding her breath.
That's very common. You hold things in. Number
oh,
5.
wait, good brother. The
Pardon? Number 6. My water intake daily has a direct, immediate effect on my lymphatic, respiratory, and urinary systems. All 3. True.
how can we drink half our body weight in ounces and not go use the restroom 6-7 times a night?
Drink 2/3 of the water before 3 o'clock in the day.
2/3.
2/3 by 3.
Your body regulates too, though. I mean, as you
You'll do
get
better.
used to it, it gets better.
If you're peeing 5-6 times a day, you probably have some urinary tract issue also.
Will you fix it, please?
No, I don't fix things. I can help your body. Number 7. The solution to pollution is dilution. That's a true statement. That applies to each area of the triangle. The solution to pollution. That goes for your diet. It goes for your mind. For example, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I'm going to share it with you. You might have to delete this. Years ago, I bought a book called God the Father by Neil Maxwell. Very, him, very deep, very heavy book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it to my wife and said, you'll like this book. She started reading and she said to me, it's too churchy.
No.
Well, it was too concentrated at that time for her.
We all go through phases. I remember my question, if I may, please.
Yeah.
So what does it do for your body when you inhale and lift up? What does it open up when you lift your,
Why would you do that?
That's the fourth one.
That's fourth
Yeah.
direction of breathing.
yeah,
And that's when I see people lift their shoulders, it tells me the other three areas are in trouble. Like the Spanish guy who lost his voice because he's breathing up. That's kind of an auxiliary method of breathing if you can't breathe
thank you.
the other way. Number 8, muscle motion enhances blood, vascular, and lymphatic drainage. True. Which muscles do the most good? Big muscles or small muscles? Big.
Big.
Cardiologists sometimes will say you have 3 hearts. 1, 2, 3. That's why they want you to walk. That's why they want you to do treadmill, exercise, to move the big muscles.
How does T-zone do that?
The T-zone is, I think, better than an exercise because it goes up and down. When it goes up and down, you get the pumping action. It pumps venous blood, it pumps lymphatic fluid. It lowers the pressure on the heart. Number 9, keeping the blood clean comes down to what, when, and how I eat, because my body has multiple systems that keep me clean internally, automatically. True. Number 10, coffee enemas provide a support to clean the liver and colon, thus the blood. That's true. Now today is not a day to talk about coffee enemas, but do any of you have any questions about them? Coffee enemas.
That was a comment, not a question, Chelsea.
I know, don't care about.
If you want to clean the liver, as far as I know, coffee enema is one of the best ways to do it. What?
Coffee.
Coffee enema. These are the instructions. Some of you have it, that you don't need it. Pass it around. This is one way to do it. There are other ways to do it. I'm a big believer in them. They do help clean the liver lines. Whenever our kids were growing up and didn't feel good and didn't want to go to school, the mother would say, go do a coffee enema. Usually when they're done, they're ready to go to school. Coffee enemas were first used in World War I for pain.
Aren't they also very good for reducing toxicity in the kidneys?
Of course. If you clean the liver, the kidney has less
Oh,
burden.
I see. Thank you.
I'll take.
Same with the lungs.
Do you want one of these?
Denise, would you like to comment any on that topic?
On coffee enemas?
Yeah.
Well, what he said is true. Growing up, if we were not feeling well, we would do a coffee enema and go to school. It does clean you out, detox very quickly and very effectively. Some people think it's weird, but it's kind of relaxing. Sit in a nice hot bath. Nobody will bother you.
Yeah,
When is the best time to do it? Morning? Night?
I believe the best time to do it is first thing in the morning.
Now, do you remember what he said, that the body heals and detoxifies during the night? So the morning would logically be the best time to help finish that cleanup
Yeah.
process.
So you do it before you take all of your pills that you're supposed to
Yes.
take on an empty tummy.
Yeah, let me comment on that. I think you know that I'm a strong believer in supplementation. I take a lot of supplements, more than any of you. And I think I owe my life and health currently to doing that.
Pills. Supplements.
My routine, and I recommend to you all to get routines. We're taking today about detoxification. For example, in our home, before my wife goes to bed, I know she's going to clean the kitchen. I help her, but she finishes. There are 2 layers of cleaning. One of my routines in the morning is to empty the dishwasher and put everything away. She never has to ask, that's what happens, that's part of my routine. But part of my routine is I do a coffee enema every day. Every morning, first thing. First thing I do is I go into the
Get that sheet. There you go.
bathroom and turn on the water. And when I empty out the liver and the colon, I have clear water, so I know I'm clean. I take supplements right when I start doing my routine. By the time those supplements get through my stomach into the intestine, they're going into a clean, small and large intestine with a clean liver. Okay? I then take more supplements right before I eat my breakfast, which is right after I get off the T-zone. So I do the enema, the T-zone, more supplements, breakfast.
So you do
Every day.
some supplements before your coffee enema?
No.
No.
I do some. I do a few before because
I'm not
I want them to go into my system when I'm the very cleanest. And I don't want to take 2 handfuls after.
Okay, gotcha.
That's part of the reason. I divide them up. And some of you do what? Never told you, if you get up in the night to pee, I take supplements then too. That's when I take the liver kidney. I take a Magnus-Stem, okay, and might take a couple of Flora Plus and digestion to help clean the blood
What?
while I'm sleeping.
One tissue?
It works. Can you, now, Denise's brother, Adam, does coffee enema every night because his life and schedule are different. I could call Adam any night at 10:30 if I'm up. I say, "Are you in your office?" He says, "Yeah," and he flushes. That's when he did it. So it works for him.
So coffee enema, T-zone, more supplements.
Breakfast. That's all done before 7:30.
Coffee.
Okay?
We don't drink it. That's not a drink.
I would never drink coffee, ever.
We don't drink coffee.
Not too much.
Okay, now number 11. Lack of proper rest/sleep has a negative effect on all body functions. True. I could tell you story after story of patients I worked with who just didn't quite get where we wanted them to get because of not getting enough sleep. Last week I had a lady from Ogden who complained about a lot of pain in the legs. And because she was doing stuff, a lot of stuff. She was a grandma trying to prepare food storage for her kids and her grandkids. And so she's up all day long on her feet and sitting down, doing a lot of stuff. And I checked her regular test and she's going downhill fast. She's on her way to a very early death because she's trying to do too much. Now I asked her a question I've never asked anybody in my practice at all, but I asked her, I said, do you believe in Jesus? I knew the answer. I said, well, you're trying to do his job. You're trying to save everybody. And in the meantime, you're going to die. You can leave your husband. You need to take care of you. So job number one is to take care of her. When I ask her the question, are you taking a nap? Oh no, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to take a nap. That stimulated the next question. What are you doing? You don't work. Well, I'm trying to save it. I shouldn't say it that way, but I'm trying to save everybody. I'm trying to get all the food storage and all this, all that. I said, you have them, you know, those kind of people have big funerals early. So that question hopefully will stimulate some of you to take the time to have a nap. And if you don't think you have time to have a nap, you're wrong. You all have time. All of you, I know what most of you and what you do, you all have time to have a nap. And the best time to have a nap, if you ask that question, is sometime between 11 and 2. The best time to take a nap is just before you think you need it. If you can't sleep, you just lay there for at least an hour. And eventually you will fall asleep. And when you fall asleep, you'll feel better. I have a lady who I worked on for more than a year to get her to have a nap. Finally, one day she did. And then she could hardly wait to the next class. She sat right there and said, I want to tell you something. I laid down to have a nap at 1 o'clock. I woke up at 5. Guess what? She needed it. Most people have a hard time sleeping or too tired to sleep.
Too tired to sleep?
Yes, too tired to sleep. And how do you get over that? You start with a nap and you start by going to bed early, 2 things.
Doctor, it has really helped me a lot by you telling us if you can't sleep and you're just laying there, pray.
Yeah.
That's been very beneficial.
The
Thank
prayers.
you. Not sleeping, but using that time.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't say anything about the liver kidney and the detox fee, but those are helpful too to clean up.